Well, hello. So we're going to finish off the barn owl that we've been working on in the live drawer, and I'm so excited to get her finished. She's been so patient watching over me for, 8 weeks, I guess now. We did 7 live sessions, and today we started the first live session of the crowned lemur. So yeah, she's been very patient watching, and I've loved having her on the wall looking over me, so it's going to be a real treat actually finishing her off now. So you can go back to the other videos on YouTube and watch where we've gotten, how we've gotten to where we are now. But now I'm going to do a deep dive and get her chest finished and the rest of her wing, and then I'm going to give her a once over and see if there's anything I need adjusting, just because there's been that interruptive way of approaching her rather than the flow that I will usually have. Well, I'll do the same piece for hours on end until it's finished, so there may be some variances in value and tone that I want to adjust, but I mean she's looking rather wonderful, I think, right now. There's a little bit more work to do on her here, and also on the wing part that we started, because again I wanted to try and show some of the technique for that part rather than actually purposefully, intentionally finishing that area. So that's what I'm going to be working on. I think that to start off with though, because I tend to work from left to right while I'm doing tutorials and stuff, and leaning on my trusty tracing paper, that I'll probably finish off her side here, her chest here, and then work our way across. So I'll zoom on in. Maybe. Okay. Rightio. And yeah, so we're going to do the same as what we did in the live videos, and I'm not really sure whether I put any base layer down there or not, but the first thing I'm going to do then is go in with some warm grey 1. I think I've been using ivory as well, so this area here is quite yellow, but underneath here is a different shade again. It's much more like the face, so we'll go with warm grey 1. And I can go ahead and do the base layer for the whole area, or I can just stick to a section. I think what I'm going to do is just this part here for now. Now I've got some tape there underneath this, so I need to remove that for now, I think. I could also have pulled it over to the other side, but I think that I should be okay without it being down. Okay, now there's quite a bit of darkness on this area here, so I'm going to bring some dark sepia in. And just really looking at the reference as to how this sort of all works together. We've got this dark shape and it comes down here. It's on this edge that there's some darkness. And there's a little line of a wing, of a feather, sorry. darkness down the bottom there. And I'm actually going to use the dark sepia as a bit of a shading colour through here. I realise now that this is where the reference ends, so there's some nice little dots happening in there too. I'm going to take burnt ochre, sorry. Just add a slight bit of orange to this area here. It's not really bright orange, it's not like over this side, but there is a slight tinge of it, and we'll also add a little bit of yellow too. And a bit of the dark Naples. Okay, I'm going to take some walnut brown. Oops. Yeah. Go over that dark sepia area, which will warm it up and also bring out some more of the brown that's there. And then it's not an outline, but there is, I don't want to outline the bird, but there is a light darkness around the edge of that secondary feather that's there. Let's darken this up a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to take a smidge of ivory now over the top of what I've got down there, and then I want to get another one. Oh, I missed a bit. Missed going over this with the walnut. I want to darken it a bit more there. Enough. Yeah, ivory. So I want to go over this bit here and then this edge here with the ivory. And I'm also going to lay it down as a base layer through here, working in little circular motions, but trying to sort of go in the direction of the feathers. Those grey lines that I have down might be a little dark. I might need to lift some of those up. And then ivory down here too. So I actually want to get rid of... What have I done with my kneadable eraser? Don't know. It's run away. Can't be too far. Strange. Oops. I'm going to get rid of some of this base colour that I put down because I wasn't watching where the end of the reference is. Now in here is really quite dark, but I'm going to put some ivory down anyway because it's a real yellowy tinge to it. Where it's not so yellowy through here. Okay, let's get the dark Naples yellow, dark Naples ochre out again. We've still got more to go on in here, but I'm going to start building out the context around here. So I'm looking at the shapes of the yellowy colour through here. I want some nice warm greys in here as well. But there are flecks of quite light colour, and we can probably use the what's it called? Scotch tape, Scotch magic tape as well. We'll see how we go. I think that's going to be way too dark in there. Pull some of those grey lines out a little. They're just a little too harsh there. Bring this back and stick it on this end because I keep knocking it, don't I? Right now, here. So yellowy, and then I want to add a touch of orange as well, so I'm going to bring out the burnt orange, burnt ochre. And just lightly go over pretty much everywhere where I've just put that yellow dark maples. Because it's not a saturated yellow. And then we'll use the warm greys to make some definition, to bring out some definition to the feathery strokes here. Alright, just going over it again to make sure that everything is going to work together, because as I was noting before, there's been quite some gaps between working on her, and I want to make sure that everything reads well. Okay, there's a little bit of pink going on in here. Oops. Threw my pencil in the bin. Yeah, it's a little pinky coming through here, which I think I started to do last time. Mostly in this chest region. So bring it all together that way too. Okay. Let's see. So we've got our dotties that we want to do with dark sepia. And then I want a nice warm grey, sort of mid-ish, so I'm going to go with 4. I might get 3 as well, we'll see. We'll see. Might want 2 as well. We'll see. So we've got some nice little dots, little spotty bits. Some of them are much darker. Can you hear the magpies? Such an Australian sound. So I'm following the reference closely, but not precisely. So I'm getting the dots pretty well where they are on the reference, but it doesn't matter if that's not exactly the same. These are so spectacular, aren't they? I mean, how wonderful. She looks like she's wearing celestial systems. Okay, how's that? What are we missing down here? Then there's two little bits here. That was beautifully meditative, following these dots around. That was wonderful. What have we got up here? So we need to define these a little bit more. And there's really nothing in her chest here. There's a couple of very light dots. Up here. Excellent. I love it. Now I've got Wong Grey 3 and 4 in my hand. I'm going to take Wong Grey 2 though, because now the dots are down, I can see where I need to make it a little bit darker before I put the real dark lines down. So I'm just going in here with Wong Grey 2. I'm going to come in here with some darker again, but I can see that the Wong Grey one is just too light. It's not giving the same tonal or value range as what's in the reference. So come over it with a 2. And then build up some more darknesses. So I've got Wong Grey 3 in my hand. Darkening this under wing bit. So even if you don't understand the anatomy of what's going on, follow the shapes in the reference. Actually up that to Warm Grey 4 a little in here. And then I'm looking at the shadowy shapes that are the way that the feathers are falling. This needs just a little bit more darkening. It needs to come out a bit and then in. So I've still got 3, Ombre 3 in my hand here. And I'm really just looking at the shadowy tones made by the way that the feathers are falling. And then darkening them where need be. Work lightly, build layers. Add a little bit more yellow in there. That's my darker Naples. Back in with the Warm Grey 3. And then I'll bring it together with Warm Grey 2. I'll darken up a bit more with the Warm Grey 4. And then the 2. Okay. So I've got Warm Grey 3 again. And it's really rather dark down in here. So I've got 4, Warm Grey 4. Just lightly building up layers. Now that's where the reference sort of ends, but I'm going to not make it harsh, just sort of fade it off. Couldn't think of the word. Alright, so I have 3 here. Following the shapes, looking at the shapes as I go. I'm looking at my reference more than I'm looking at my page actually. And just trying to lightly mark in some of the feathery shapes. And I want to build these up lightly. I don't want to go in dark, have a sudden dark spot. I want it to be nice and soft. No harsh lines. A bit more of the Naples yellow. It's coming along. So back with Warm Grey 3. And I'm starting to get into some of the detail of the feathers in here. And I can use the, actually missing one there, I can use the little dots that we've made before with the dark Sevia as an anchor point, so I can see the anatomy around it, the feathery anatomy. Okay, I got really into that then, and I wasn't really explaining what I was doing, so hopefully you could see what I was doing by looking at the reference to I was making little shadowy shapes for the clumps of hair, feathers. You know what I'm saying. And we can define some of those a bit more with a little bit more yellow. Bit of orangey colour maybe. And down here I'd like to put a bit of nougat. It's much sort of browner down here. And let's bring a little bit of brown up in here too. Okay, I'm going to take Warm Grey 4 now. And just define some of these areas a little bit more again. Not everywhere, but some of them just need to be darkened up a little bit. You see how the darks really make things much more defined. And again, if you're not entirely sure where to make something darker, squint a little bit. Squint at the reference and you'll get much more defined value shapes. So you'll know where to come in and darken things up a little bit. It's quite a clever trick, that one. What do you think? Now, the light spots that I've got in here are now too light, aren't they? So let's come over them with a little bit of warm grey 2. Just lightly over them, and then we can actually use the warm grey 2 to sort of blend, well, not sort of, to actually blend some of the other sections together too. Oh, she's coming along beautifully. Look, darling, you're actually getting a body now. How exciting. Alright, so I just realised by how dark this is coming down that I haven't actually put any base layer down there, so I've got my warm grey one. I'm just going to come over all of this area. Okay, and I've got warm grey 2 again, and I'm going to start building out the shadowy colours, the shadowy shapes of some of these other feather groups. And we need to bring quite a lot of yellow back in over here. Okay, continuing on. I feel like I need another layer of colour, as I say, flavour. So I've got a little bit of brown ochre, which is a really yellowy brown. And I'm going to try that in a few spots and see what I think. And I'm quite liking it already. It's a colour that works really well with different greys. And it's got a bit of warmth to it, but there's quite a lot of yellow in it. So I'm adding that to the areas that are kind of orangey, like yellowy brown areas, just to give them a little bit more depth. And I can see that, I can use that up in here even. And it's just giving her a little bit more depth. Oh, I've got these lights on. It's working really nicely with those warm greys. Okay, yeah, I like that. That works well. I'm going to use it a little bit down in these yellowy areas as well then. Okay, now under the wing here, there's quite a lot of this same sort of yellow tones, so let's bring some of that over. I need some darker greys yet too. It's that really sort of yellowy tone in amongst the shadows. Let's use this to create some feathery textures up here as well. Just step back every now and then, have a look, see what might need to be done, what might be missing. Okay. Let's bring a bit of pink in. I've got beige red. I'm just lightly glazing that wherever I see that sort of pinky warm colour. We've sort of addressed it up here, I think. Alright. Warm grey 4. Let's define what's going on here under this wing. So let's get the shape in. Okay, it's dark in here. Darken that, a couple of those dots up there too. Right, let's add a little bit of brown to that. So I think I might do a little bit of walnut. It's not really warm in there, it's quite grey, but I think a little bit of walnut will look nice in there. So just where that is really much darker, so a smidge of that in there. I want to darken up a few of those dots as well. And where it's really dark in here, we can add a little bit of sepia as well. Because there's layers of these too, so there's some really dark ones, some lighter ones. Okay, I think that's got some good dimension. I like to work really lightly with the dark sepia as a shading colour. It's got a really beautiful depth to it. I need to darken up what's going on here in the mid-breastbone. What a beautiful girl. And I'm actually going to darken up in here as well. Okay, we might even add a little bit of this over in these couple of really dark areas. Because as always, you can see the huge difference that's made as soon as you start adding a darker colour in. Okay. What are you thinking? Just darkening up a couple of these dotty bits. Good. Need to darken this area just a little bit more. So warm grey 4. Okay. Getting there, getting there. For the darker shadows still here, and giving them some more definition where necessary. Okay, I think we can start working on, actually before we get to the wing here, there's a few things that I want to finish defining up here. So I've still got warm grey 4, and I'm going to lightly lay down a bit more colour under here. It's quite white through there, but it lacks definition at the moment, so add a little bit of that. And I feel like there's actually a bit more darkness going on up here. So yeah, once you start adding dark around, you can see where you may have not had enough dark in other areas. It's just part of this process. It's a good thing. So now oh, I just realised some of that we wouldn't have even seen. Sorry about that. I was just darkening up some of the parts around the eye here. So I just did some here. I just got completely engrossed in what I was doing. Didn't even look if it was actually on camera. A little bit up here. A little bit on this neck ruffle here. And then yeah, I've just added a little bit more here. I want to darken up this part here a little bit more too, so I'm actually going to take walnut and add just a light glazing over. It's not a lot, but it really does make a difference to the values overall. which helps to make other areas stand out a bit more. So same, I think I want a bit more darkness in here. Walnut's such a good colour to do this sort of thing with too. Isn't she a pretty girl? Such a pretty girl. I'm going to bring just a little touch of walnut in here as well. I'm afraid I'm not one of those artists that can just finish one area and not move back to it move on, not come back to it at any point, because I often want to adjust values slightly after I've done darkness elsewhere. So I admire that ability. But for me, it's about allowing adjustments to happen as the piece progresses too. Okay. Rightio. I'm putting walnut away. I'm getting warm grey 2 out. And I just want to define this ruffle under the neck a little bit more. There's not a lot of markings going on there. But there are a few. This is all so soft and floofy here. Okay, it's got warm grey 4. I'm adding just a few more details in here again. Warm grey 2. And I'm actually going to get walnut again. Am I going to get walnut or am I going to get nougat? Oh, I might try nougat. There's a few of these brownie details in here. That's better. Oh my goodness, okay. I need to zoom out a bit though, obviously. Okay, she's nearly finished. She's got this wing section to do here. Now, it's very light along here. And I can't remember if I did already, but I'm going to lay down some white here. I'm pretty sure that I have, but that's alright, we can do that again. But I think that I'm going to use warm grey 1 for the rest. I think that I laid white down here so we can get those really nice light flecks through, but I'm going to go with warm grey 1 for the rest. And just looking at where the reference picture finishes, and we're sort of going here-ish. I probably don't need that actually. I did this section here before, and I don't think I've come out far enough. With these little stray feathers there. Okay, now. Let's do this part here first. I've got cold grey in my hand. There's only really cold grey here. Cold grey 1. And here. I'm going to go warm grey. I'm going to go warm grey 2. Along this edge here. I might even go to 3. I'm going to go warm grey 3. On this edge, and then it's sort of, there's quite a bit of darkness in here as well. Let's do some of these feathery lines up with this Mulgrave 3 there. And it's quite light again. And then we've got like a little ruffle here that almost looks like brocade underneath here, which is just delightful. Okay, let's get some orange in there. Let's start with the burnt ochre, but I think I'm going to use some terracotta in here too. Right, now we've got this feather here that comes down. Like this here. There's quite a bit of orange underneath. And then we've got this sweep of orange. On top here. And then it's quite dark. Under there. I want to use a really light touch and bring some of that orange over until it gets quite dark there. And there's a little touch of it this way. I'm going to bring a little bit of that yellow to the dark maples. Yellow in there too. Yep, that's right there. Okay, let's take do I want burnt umber or do I want walnut? I think I'll go walnut. And I want to bring a darker orange, a brighter orange in here. Got this shape this way. And then we've got a shape this way, which is its own feather. Hang on, where am I going? No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And this must be that there, so this is here, okay. A shape going this way and under here. Darkness, and I haven't drawn the point of that correctly. That comes down this way. And there's another feather here, and then we've got this sort of sweeps along this way, some shadow there. Okay, so what I need to do now is bring a bit of that up, and then I can bring some of that orange back this way. So sometimes you've just got to spend a moment going over your reference to make sure that you've got everything where it needs to be. I feel like this sweeps out a bit more. We've got some nice little textures to add in there too. And then we've got this nice orange in here. Just move her up a little smidge. Right. So I'm wanting to get this sort of dark walnutty texture in there, and to do that I'm going to do these sorts of scratchy liney marks like this. I want there to be dark heavy bits and excuse me, and then sort of lighter bits. Now I'm doing over here, I can see that I need to darken this up. So it's just this forever push and pull between making sure that you've got the values matching across what you're doing. There's some of this walnut in here. It's kind of a shadowy shape in here actually. We probably want some grey on that. There's a beautiful big dot there. Some yellow, some grey, a bit more grey, a bit more yellow, and then we've got orangey. Start getting into that really gorgeous grey and brown, spotty textured feathers in there. This line, this line here. This one comes this way, and then down and around and out. So I'm not trying to focus on actual feather shapes, I'm looking at the shapes of the colour and the value. And I'm trusting that they'll all start to make sense once they're together in the end. See, it's looking feathery, isn't it? Alright. One grey, three. Excuse me. Rightio, so let's get some of these this really dark colour and white feathers in. Started to put some of them down up here. Just because they're rather spectacular. There's a little bit on the end of this feather that's here. A little bit yes, here too. Now a lot of this area is out of focus as well. So, you can make decisions about how much detail you want to put in, whether you want to go to all of the trouble of doing these sorts of feathers as well, but I quite like them. And I have gone over some of the bits that should have been kept lighter. It's okay though. It's just another really interesting part of the anatomy. I just always wonder what the environmental drive was that forced some of these changes to feathering and stuff, and how it happened over time. So some of these are just going to be really suggestive more than anything else. It's quite nice to have them in, I think. And as I said, this is all sort of blurry here. So, we can sort of choose how much information we want to put down, how blurred out we want to make it. Oops. Knocked that off. But similar to sort of over here, I think if we sort of follow the shapes of things, then we get that impression without having to do too much really realistic rendering. Yeah, okay, I'm just trying to decide whether I feel like I want to go up a notch as far as orange goes. I've got orange glaze, but that's really quite bright. I have terracotta here, so I want to see what that looks like in these orangey areas. And yeah, that's not bad. I think perhaps with some yellowy tones as well. It's not vastly different to the burnt ochre, is it? I had this cold, I've got, which is much improved. Antibiotics are making a huge difference, but I have a bit of tinnitus. It's really strange. I don't like it. There's actually really, it's pretty much pervasive, the orange that's around. And then there's varying levels of greys and browns over the top of it, so you can be pretty loose with how you lay the oranges down here, I think, because we'll come in over the top of it with the darks anyway. Through here is quite green. So we might add a bit of raw umber got the green gold. Look, I think I'm going to pretty much just shade that in. Let's grab green gold. Put a bit of that in down here. It's not pervasive, it's not everywhere. And a little bit of raw umber. Looking at the sort of darker green goldy areas here on this feather and up into here. Maybe a little bit in here. Sort of dulled out. Okay. It's really like a stippling. I'm just blowing it up so I can get a better understanding of what's going on. Okay. I have in my hand, what do I have in my hand? I have Vista. Contribute a bit more to this yellowy browny area here. I want to add to a little bit of the sort of shadowy sides of some of those feathers there. Add some more darkness here. And I think that's all of that. Alright, let's get some darkness in there. I'm going to go with dark sepia again, and I know it looks fairly sharp, this pencil, but it hasn't really got the point that I want on it, so I'm going to utilise, instead of the really pointy areas that I want, I'm going to utilise it more for the sort of stipply areas that I want to work on now for a minute. So I'm literally just putting little dots, and I need to work fairly hard pressure wise to get those dots down. We might do some walnut brown dots as well, and come back in with maybe black to get the really dark spots around these, the dark spots around the light feathers. But it's definitely a stipple, and we want to do a stipple because that shows the light colour underneath too. So this is going to be one of those things that just requires patience and not overtaxing your hand too much, but also trying not to do everything in little rows, because these little creatures aren't made of picket fences. So I'm varying the way that I'm holding the pencil so that I can get different edges sharpened a little. Yeah, that's going to work nice, I think. So I have those two, and those two, okay. I'm going to add another one in because that one's a little bit too high, but that's okay. Where's my sandpaper block? Here it is here. I'm just going to sharpen up the edge of this a little bit. Okay, so in here is really dark. Let's bring this darkness in. Can't really see what's going on there, so I'm just going to follow the shapes that I can see. Okay. Walnut brown. More shadow in there. The shape of this feather is not quite right. Let's take some orange glaze. Lightly. Lightly glaze with the orange glaze. Let's see if that gives us the orangey colour that I want. I kind of want to get a yellow in it still. She's so pretty. Right. I'm going to take my walnut and lay it down over these dark stipply areas. Except for where I can see that it's got a real sort of light, almost bluey grey colouring in. Or perhaps not as heavily is what I should say. What do you think? She's coming along. swear I can hear something in here, but there's no cats. How strange. Perhaps there's something outside the window. I don't think it's just my tinnitus making that noise. So with these feathers with the light bit in it, they run in lines. Oh, I've got those ones here, and then I want to add some grey in. So I've got warm grey 5 here. 5. And I'm just going to keep doing this sort of stippling texture. And we'll build up enough of that it will start to look like our reference. It's quite dark in here. My goodness, you know, you could really lose yourself in this, studying these feathers. I mean, what a beautiful thing that would be. Some hooping and hollering down the street. I'm going to go up one. I'm going to go to warm grey 6. It's really difficult not to do things in lines too much. I mean, a few little lines, doesn't matter. So let yourself get lost in your project, in your observation. I'm going to get some black in here too. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit more of the orange glaze and brighten up some of these orangey areas with it. And I might come in with a bit of yellow as well. It is subdued in lots of places, but I wanted the colour to pop a little bit too. I have orange yellow, which I've got on my list, but I haven't used it as yet, so I don't think I have anyway. It's not wowing me, it's giving a little bit of extra oomph, I think, but it's quite yellow, quite bright. I need to tone that down a bit, yeah. I don't really like what's going on there, so I'm going to take my burnt ochre again, just tone that right down. Oh, my ear is ringing. I need to get some more darks in here too. I do love this colour, this burnt ochre. It's one of those must-have colours when it comes to doing wildlife. It's in so many, well, it stands in for the colouring of so many furs and feathers. Actually down over there for some reason. What do I do with my eraser? Here. Nope. Oh, where did you come from? Oh, there it is there. I'll bring out the white inside a couple of these. I'm going to bring black in now to really highlight those. Black. Okay. Okay, nice and sharp. So I'm going to do this aspect first, like the sort of, it's almost like chain link, isn't it? With these feathers. Highlight that one a little more. Okay, that brings them out beautifully. But now we need to put a lot of darkness in. And these stipply bits. Particularly in the areas where it's really to the forefront of the image. I'm just trying to have patience. Because, one, to do it for the process, to really enjoy the process of creating different textures. But also to experiment with how you can represent a real-to-life creature, and to honour the creature, also honour your time and your effort and your work, your skills. And you've put a lot of work into it until now, this picture, so you want to make sure that you finish it off nicely as well. Don't rush that last part. And don't forget, the same as anywhere else, when you do the darks, the lights are the things that pop out really well then, including these light little feathers too. This is fabulous. What a better way to spend a Friday night, hey, than really honing in on a barn of owl's feathers. Making me very happy. So the really darkest feathers are right at the front here, and there is some dark stipply feathers coming back here, but they're quite blurry, so we don't need to spend as much time on them. What do you think? Oh, I think she's fairly close to done. I'm just looking at, excuse me, overall, what's left to do? I have Cold Grey 2 here. Pump up this little bit here. It's quite blue. I'm going to get Warm Grey 3. Just look after this little fold a little better. It's not a fold, it's a feather, well, feather folding over the top of another one, going over the top of the other one. And I'm just going to go over this part here with a bit of grey too, because it's kind of greyed out. And I've lost some definition here, although that was a cold grey, so let me get cold grey 2 again. No, cold grey 3. Better. I'm going to take a little bit of burnt umber. Just looking at some of these warmer spots that could use a little oomph. Okay, I think she might be done. Just looking over her. A little bit of burnt umber again in this beak. Just take a moment and sit with her. See if there's anything else that she's asking for you to address, notice. I'm going to go with cold grey 4 here. Itchy eye. There's a little dot there, just a little one. 3 little ones in here. See, it's just taking that little bit of extra time to sit with a piece that you discover some of the little tiny hidden treasures. Ivory again. Talk to me, lovely. What else do you need? What else do you need? Okay, I think that I'm going to call her done. So all she needs now is a signature. Yeah, she's completed, so well done for getting through quite a complicated piece. Just working at it slowly. Lots of light layers. Enjoy the process and learn from it as you go. Don't forget to talk to your little creatures. Yeah, and create beautiful art that makes the world a better place. Alright, I'm going to stop noodling with her now. There she is, our beautiful barn owl. Thank you so much for joining me through this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all our crowned lemurs next. So it's been a real joy seeing these in my feed, so please continue to share them, or as I said, if you would prefer to just send me your version via email or messenger, then that's absolutely fine too. I feel really honoured that you've worked with me on this, so thank you, and see you in the next one.